Hello everyone, welcome to another Minecraft update video. Yes, it is pre-release 1 for 1.19.4, that means that update is going to be coming our way soon. And this is separate from the 1.20 update that we've been seeing through the experimental features data pack. So let me remind you what's in this 1.19.4 update. The new entity types for creating text and blocks, as well as items and interactions. There are also 2 new game rules, Do Vines Spread, and command modification block limit, as well as 2 new commands, ride and damage. The new options to control glint speed, glint strength and damage tilt, as well as jukeboxes being able to interact with droppers and hoppers. The skulk sensor can now detect many more events. Items such as armor and the elytra can be directly swapped from your hotbar. Horse breeding has drastically improved, and there is of course the new world creation screen. And of course I've already covered these in greater detail as well as the 1.20 update. So I'll take this moment to let you know you can find that playlist in the description box down below, and feel free to subscribe if you want to stay up to date with all of Minecraft's development. Speaking of which, the developers have left us an important note that worlds created in the previous snapshot with 1.20 content can't be opened in this pre-release. And there's also a reminder that the cadence of regular releases on Wednesdays will be broken, so now we can expect to see some pre-releases coming our way frequently. Now let's get into the changes for 1.19, and later in the video we'll get into those for 1.20. As you may notice down here in my hotbar, I have some items with the Enchantment Glint. The visibility of this has been boosted for items when they are inside of the inventory. And here is a great comparison of how holding an item is quite different to seeing it on the player. So the change is for when the item is in item form. And here's a rather large change when it comes to potions. As you'll see, the Enchantment Glint has been removed entirely, making it much easier to discern the colour of the potions and tell which ones they are just by looking at them. And because of these changes in the resource pack, there is now the Glint entity PNG and also the Glint item. These have been separated. And in accessibilities, the Glint strength's default will now be 75%. Now there is going to be a new resource pack available by default inside of resource packs. This is not something custom I've added myself. It's called High Contrast, and it enhances the UI contrast of Minecraft. So let's go ahead and enable this, and we will see that our menus will change drastically. Look at that, a totally different visual style that will be much more accessible for certain players. And you can see cyan and purple are the colours here, and the sliders have been changed as well. This doesn't, however, affect the player's inventory, but it will, for example, affect the interface of a command block. And if we exit out to the main menu, you can see that it's changed here too. For example, this is what the multiplayer screen looks like. As you can see, the background is completely black. And here is what the Create New World screen looks like. There's also some yellow that's been thrown into the mix. And other than that, I've had a look around, and I think this is a good showcase of all of the elements. I couldn't discover anything that looked different. And here on the website, it says it's only available in menus for now, but they're looking into bringing it to the gameplay UI in the future, which I believe means the survival inventory and whatnot. Now, a second ago, you might have noticed the layout of the Create New World screen looks slightly different, and that's because it's been overhauled. As you can see, it's now got this dirt background. The buttons at the top are more center aligned, and the elements below them have been pushed up to the top of whatever tab they're in. And as always, there are some technical details in the technical changes part, but this one caught my eye. Item interact finish now has a vibration frequency of 2 instead of 14. And I'm not entirely sure if I've understood this correctly, but eating bread and drinking milk used to output a signal strength of 14, whereas now the bread does 8 and the milk bucket does 2. And I have just learned there is a recipe change. You can now smelt red sand into glass. I would obviously pick regular sand to do this, but there you go. So now for our 1.20 changes, starting with a crafting recipe change for the brush. It will now require a stick, a copper ingot and a feather. And given the texture of this item that does have that little bit of something coppery in it, this makes much more sense in my opinion. The colour of the sniffer spawn egg has also been changed slightly, and the recipe for the decorated pot can now be found in the recipe book. The torch flower can now be used to craft a suspicious stew. The question is, what effect does it have? Let's find out together. I'm going to snack on this, and it looks like we get night vision. And with it only lasting 2 seconds, it just feels very novel and almost pointless. I think they could buff this feature, you know, make it last a minute, it'd be like a mini potion. Chickens can now be tempted and lured by torchflower seeds, and I'm not sure if they were already breedable, but if you wondered, they are. Similar to this, bees were overlooked for the torchflower and pink petals. Both can be used for breeding and for luring the bees too. And in survival modes, the pink petals can now be instant mined. And pigs are now natural inhabitants of the cherry blossom biome. They will spawn here naturally. And I think that is very fitting that they really do fit in being pink and all. Now there was a bug that would cause both camels and sniffers to panic and run around when they take full damage. This also applied to goats and frogs. Now when they take full damage, they're not going to instantly panic. And camels, when sat down, wouldn't be lured by cactus, and you wouldn't be able to breed them either. But now, if they're sitting, they'll get up and they'll come over to the cactus and they'll breed too. There was also a bug that caused camels, horses and mules to bounce up and down in water until they went ridiculously high in the air, which you can see has been patched. And when it comes to the cherry wood set, there were some oversights like not being able to craft campfires or make charcoal in furnaces. Some of these have now been fixed. And this next portion of the video is just dedicated to some things that I missed in last week's snapshot. For example, if you want to make pink dye, you can do that using the pink pedals. And there was an oversight when it came to the changes to the jukebox, because when it's playing a record it puts out redstone, it would actually lock the hopper that's below it. So when the record finishes playing, the block will no longer be powered, and then the hopper below can pick up the record. There is an alternative method too. You can use a minecart with hopper and that will suck the record right out of there. Remember how the sniffer can remember locations that it's sniffed in its brain? Well, it can remember a total of 20 of these. And for this next one, all credit goes to Ilmango and the Psycraft crew, who found a way to get suspicious sand in survival mode. And this is something I absolutely wanted to share with you. So below where the suspicious sand is, you want to place soul sand and water. You want to go ahead, break this block and let it fall down. And then it's going to bump up and down in the water for a little while. That's quite a hypnotic sight right there. And eventually what it's going to do is pop off. I think this takes about 30 seconds. And there we go, they both just popped off. Now, as you might suspect, when you place this down, it's lost its loot data. So if we go ahead and brush this, you'll see there's no loot coming out of it, and it will just break without dropping nothing. Well, it turns into a sand. Let's now go ahead and create an explosion in creative mode. It's just going to push me, the player, around. Look at that. This time, though, I'm going to wear some blast protection armor. This will now actually affect you in creative mode, which it did not do before. So now, we won't go as far. There you go. The smithing table was also updated. It now has a tooltip to tell you that you can put in a smithing table, and then a tooltip for the piece of armor and the ingot or crystal. Also, one of the little icons that pops up here is now for the amethyst shard. And that, my friends, is all of the changes, but I have one more thing for you related to 1.20. It is actually just a video, or should I say a short, what's actually in Minecraft 1.20. If you want to go check out the short, it will let you know all the things that are in 1.20, because with the updates being split and developed at the same time, it gets a little confusing. So if you want some clarification about 1.20 in under a minute, then head over there. But that's it from me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.